Welcome to the Fabulous 50s and Beyond. We're hoping that you'll stay tuned and watch our show today. We have a lot of interesting information that I know that you will find helpful to you. We're going to talk about amputees today. This is Limb Loss Month, Awareness Month, and so we're going to talk about that. Currently, there are 109 million people living with limb loss in the United States, and there are an average of 507 people that lose a limb every day. So you stay tuned, and I know you'll be wanting to listen to our guest as she talks to us about that. We'll be right back.
And he'd say, go with what you got. Start from where you are. Give it your best shot. Keep reaching for that star. Get in the race, keep your own pace, keep moving and never stop. Just go, go with what you got.
Welcome back. I'm Jim Pollard, your host for the day. Our guest today is Terri Ross. And Terri, and we were talking earlier that she got pulled into what she's doing kind of like a lot of people do when they actually get involved in something. And Terri is an amputee herself, a below knee amputee. And since we've last had a show, I am now an above knee amputee. And so we hope you're going to stay listened and tuned and listen to what we're going to talk about today. Terri, it's good to have you with us today. And I found out about your place there and the work that you do by actually donating to it. When I was going through all of my sickness, you know, they just send you all of these bandages and all of these things. And we were ending up, I said, Valerie, I told my daughter, we got to find a place to give these away to people where they can use them. So she tracked down your place.
Yes, thank you.
And 2 or 3 times she's gone over. We've donated a lot of bandages, and because all of a sudden the bandages weren't doing any good, so they had to amputate. So, but we had a lot of extra bandages, a lot of different stuff. And now we watch, and this is a good thing for people who are watching our show. We watch. She looks at different auctions in different places where we can pick up stuff reasonable just to donate. And we found a wheelchair, almost brand new, that she bought at an auction for 25 cents. And people tell me that that was a very expensive wheelchair. So we look for things like that we can find. But you're going to kind of bring us up to date on some of the things that's going, especially the Limb Loss Awareness Month. And you've been pretty active. You've been to Washington and to Frankfurt and to a lot of places doing a lot of work. Talk to us about some of it.
Yes, Jim, I have been active in the amputee community since I've been able to get up and go on my own, and it took me a few years to get involved, but my first prosthetist told me about a lot of the amputee awareness month and told me about the Amputee Coalition, and I'm very thankful to Daniel for telling me about the Amputee Coalition originally and encouraging me to become a part of the amputee community awareness programs. And so since I started being involved, I found myself being, first of all, my own advocate. So that's part of what I encourage everyone to do, is become their own advocate. And since April has become designated nationally as the Limb Loss Awareness Month, everyone is encouraged to show your mettle. And that's not just showing your mettle as in your limbs, that is showing your mettle as in M-E-T-T-L-E. Show what you've got inside, show your strength, what it takes to become an amputee and go on with life. And so we encourage everybody. There's a certain day of the month, and I think it's later on in April, that on the Limb Loss Awareness Facebook page, it's amputeecoalition.org. They actually have a page, and they'll encourage you to post a picture of yourself showing your limb and showing what it takes to come back after limb loss. But yes, I did go to Frankfurt, and we had a bill that we almost got passed for prosthetic parity. And if you're not aware of what prosthetic parity is, they use a different term now, but that was what our original bill was for, and we were trying to get insurance to pay for prosthetic needs. So several other states around us, almost all of the surrounding states have prosthetic parity where insurance is required to pay for your prosthetic needs. We got it through the House and to the Senate, but it was in the wrong committee, and they ran out of time in the session, and it didn't make it back through. So,
well, that was a new term to me. And as we discussed earlier, I'm always right now hearing new terms that I'm interested in finding out what they are. And of course, Facebook has been a big help to me. Some of the amputee groups that are on there that I've been able to, and talking about being your self-advocate. I went to a conference at Lourdes years ago, and one of the sisters, nuns, was putting it on. And I've always remembered the saying that she said, "You are your healthcare advocate. And don't let anybody tell you you're not. You're the one that ultimately has to say so on what happens to you." And I've always remembered that. And I talk to my doctors about some of my medicine. I say, is this necessary? Because I realize that for a time, sometimes it is necessary, but over the years, is it still really necessary? Last time I was in the hospital, they took me off of 4 different medicines that they said I didn't need. In fact, they said I was being over-medicated with those 4. So I think that's great that you encourage people to become their own self-advocate. And another thing that you led me to was the statement on the ACA website is that no is not an answer.
that's true. And what they're referring to is when you try to get a new prosthetic limb, and it's better and does more for you, makes you more ambulatory than the one that you're currently wearing. If it's higher technology, if it's vacuum system, or it's a higher graded knee like a C leg or an X3. These are some brand names, and I'm not trying to promote any brand names, just what I'm thinking of. But if it's something more better in technology and insurance tells you no, you need to investigate why they're telling you no. Tales I've heard, or sometimes they have doctors on the insurance panels of the insurance companies that do reviews, and they may be chiropractors, they may be any kind of doctors, but they have no idea what the needs are of amputees. And so you have a right to fight these decisions that are made about you, and try to do an appeal and try to get the leg that you know is best for you. And your prosthetist notes, and this is something that's just happened in the last couple of months, they've passed a healthcare law that says that your prosthetist notes are now to be included as part of your healthcare records. And so we've been fighting for this for a long time, and AOPA helps us with this. The prosthetist helps us with this. And so anytime you're going to see your regular medical doctor, always tell them what's going on with your prosthesis, if you're having any trouble with it, if you're having pain, if you're doing well with it. If your prosthetist has recommended you to get a different kind because you're doing better and he thinks that a higher rated prosthetic limb would be better for you, make sure they include that in your doctor's notes, because what your prosthetist is telling you is now part of your medical records, and that's a benefit for you.
Well, I appreciate the first prosthetist that I met. He was an amputee himself, and the first thing he did, he sat down and he interviewed me. He said, "What did you do before you got sick?" I said, "Tell me what you mean by sick." He said, "All the way back to where everything started." And I said, "Well, I consider myself a gentleman farmer. I lived on 64 acres. I bush hogged and loved it. I gardened. I cut my own wood. I burned wood for heat. And he said, well, we're going to try to get you the best leg we can, because said, you were active. He said, and we believe we can justify you a good leg. And all through what I've gone through with them, this has been their theory and their push. In fact, I go the 26th of April for an evaluation with a new doctor about a new leg, and I'm excited about it because it's one of the microprocessor legs, and they tell me, said, that's what you need as active as you are. And I am active. I mean, even now I'm around on my driveway and under my carport. I garden now in big tubs rather than in the ground like I used to. And I've got seedlings in one of my rooms up 8 and 10 inches tall already. I said I'd be glad for spring to finally break so I can get those planted. And so I try to do something. I cannot sit down and be still. So I'm going to learn from you so that I can become a better self-advocate also, and if I need to. And another thing about the ACA, and you can mention that if you would talk about, I noticed on their website they have a letter, a form letter, which you can improve on, and if you want to. And they said when you go for a new leg, they said write all of your legislative people, both national and statewide. You want to expand on that a little bit?
I think you're referring to the letter for, I hope I don't draw a blank on this, but that was the letter for healthcare insurance.
Right. It said make sure that you get a letter sent to your senators, your representatives, both on federal and state level, even local
yes,
politicians.
This is the Amplify Yourself movement. And
right.
So that's making sure that if you have trouble getting a limb, and that's just part of the advocate for yourself, be your own advocate, and it's the Amplify Yourself movement. And so you can, this is a way to speak out for yourself. It's an easy link to be able to contact all of your representatives. It will automatically send it to your own representatives. And if you'll just click the link there on the Amplify Yourself on the Amputee Coalition webpage, and you can also find it on Twitter and Amputee Coalition's Twitter and Instagram page. But if you'll click that link, you'll find that letter ready to go. And I encourage you to tell your own story too. Don't just use the pre-written letter, but tell them your own story, why it means so much to you. And for me, I went from having a leg that I couldn't walk through the grass.
Really?
I could not walk through the grass in my yard. And because I tried a foot that made a big difference to me, wearing this foot, now I can walk through the grass in my yard. I can do a whole lot more things. And speaking up and being heard has changed my life.
Well, I'm looking forward to the day that I can walk without even a cane. And I've told them, I said, look, at my age, if I end up having to walk with a cane, that's okay too. But they seem to think that I'll be able to go all the way, and I'm excited about that. Well, listen, we've had a really exciting first half here. We're going to take a break now, and then we'll be right back. So you stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Meet Dave and Dan. They have a lot in common. Both have great careers, earning good money. Both went to college for 4 years. Dan went straight to a 4-year university. and now he has some student debt. But Dave started at West Kentucky Community and Technical College and got his general education out of the way before transferring to a 4-year college. That's why Dave's student debt is half as much as Dan's. Don't be like Dan. Be smart. Save money. Check out West Kentucky today.
Welcome back. Our guest today is Terri Ross, and we're talking about amputees. And right now, we're going to kind of talk about some of the things that are available. And I know that a lot of times it is expensive. And Terri's going to talk about I hesitate to call it a shop, but it is. It's a free shop of things that you might need. And you pay close attention because she's going to give us some good information on it. Now, before she does, I want to talk about just a minute. It's the name of the magazine is Amplify, right?
Amplify Yourself is the program that you can click on the.
Well, what's the free magazine that AC has?
In Motion.
In Motion, okay.
In Motion is the Amputee Coalition's.
And it's a free magazine that you can subscribe to just by going to the ACA website.
Yes.
And we're putting up the ACA information, the website, and how you can link to it and everything. People will be able to see that. But let's talk about your shop over there. And I thought it was real interesting when you said you got this big building and you said, I don't think we'll ever fill that thing, and now it's running over.
Yes, yes. We do have a program called Project CARAT Paducah. We're a nonprofit, and we help people who can't afford to get durable medical equipment and some supplies because they've had amputations, and that was our original intent, because they had amputations. And we soon learned that it wasn't just because they had amputations, it was because they just had the need for durable medical equipment and other supplies. So we've expanded on just helping people in Western Kentucky. And how we did that is we started out helping a few people by just picking up a few things at yard sales. When my best friend and I started helping people, because I call her the yard sale queen. And she would always say, I see all these things that, like you have and you need and you use, durable medical equipment, tub transfer benches, shower seats, wheelchairs and walkers. And she said, they're in consignment stores, they're in yard sales, they're everywhere. And I said, if you feel like I do after I'd had my wreck and I was down for so long, you can't go out and buy this stuff, because if you're truly in need of it, you cannot go out and buy it because you don't feel like going out and looking for it. And she said, that's why nobody buys it then, because it's still sitting there. When, I'll go back and they'll have a yard sale 6 months later and it's still there. So we got the idea that we would see if we could pick up a few things, or see if these people might want to donate these items and give them to us and help people. And then we kind of expanded by adding an ad in the local free paper. And they were very nice to us and let us run that ad. Well, people started picking up on, if we had it from getting it from the free paper, they would start calling us and asking us if they could have it. And so we were wheeling and dealing this stuff, just giving it to people in need and helping people that we worked with and other neighbors, and the community found out about it. And so we decided it was too big a thing, that we just needed to help as many people as we could. So that, I feel like this is a God wink, how I found out about Project CARAT. I was at my mother's hospital room, and a lady came in, was evaluating her for what equipment she would need. And she was a physical therapist from the University of Kentucky, and she came in, and her mother was a teacher at West Kentucky Community and Technical College. And she was the instructor here, and she was doing her rounds here in Paducah because she could stay with her mother. And when she came into my mom's hospital room, she said, what my mom needed. And I said, now don't get one of those. I got plenty of those, and don't get this. I'll help you with that while you need it. And the physical therapist turned around and looked at me. She said, are you part of the CATS network, which is the Kentucky Assistive Technology Systems? And that's the mother program for Project CARAT, which is our program, Project CARAT Paducah Incorporated. And I said, no, but please tell me about it. When she told me about it, I called, or I emailed Dr. Kitzman at University of Kentucky, and he said, oh, you're doing wonderful work there. Would you want to join our program? So they came here and they discussed it, and Lourdes came on board with us, and in a year we had a newly remodeled office over in the Lourdes home care building, and we've just grown tremendously. We've been there over 3 years, and we help people every day that need equipment, and it's just been amazing. And that's why I feel like it was just truly a God wink for this physical therapist to be there.
I've always said that Paducah and Western Kentucky is one of the most generous areas that I have ever seen for helping causes, donating, and raising money. I've always been amazed at the amount of money that the different groups are able to raise. And I'm sure that's what you found out when you opened the doors, the things that were coming through and were happening to you there at your place. Tell us just a little bit about some of the things that you do give away that in relative to different injuries or surgeries or things.
You're exactly right about the community being so generous. All of our inventory is donated by the community. We don't purchase items. We run on a very small budget. We have been able, due to some grants we've received, been able to hire a part-time person. I don't take a salary. I do all my work as a volunteer. And because we had such a need for expanded hours, we were able to hire someone after we became a nonprofit, which was December of last year in 2017. And we have a volunteer board of directors. Everyone volunteers their time. But our biggest item that we give out and the most requested is tub transfer benches and shower chairs, wheelchairs. You can get a wheelchair every 5 years from Medicare or your insurance, and a lot of times people that use those items on a daily basis, they don't last that long. The bathroom items, the shower chairs, and the bedside commodes, they are no longer paid for by insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, and I find that just absolutely ridiculous.
When did they stop that?
This practice stopped a few years ago, and I think it was because they had a crackdown on Medicare being abused, and some companies were, and they did a widespread crackdown of Medicare and other insurance companies just stopping payment on or being billed for too many things. But they really hurt us as amputees, people with paralysis, not being able to have the items that they need, because I don't know any amputee that should stand in a shower or anybody with paralysis that can stand in the shower.
That's right.
And everyone needs to be able to bathe and bathe safely. And it really causes more injuries to people who don't have the items that they need to go home with safely, and causes the country more health care bills for people that are on aid to go back into the hospital with injuries after they fall down from not going home with the proper items they need.
I guess it was 5 years ago that I got my chair, potty chair, because since then, during all this life go-around, I've been blessed with a son and a daughter that look after me. And she went to St. Vincent, she went to Goodwill, she went all over the place looking for equipment that I needed. and was able to pick it up for virtually a small amount of money. But I understand that some people can't even afford that small amount of money sometimes.
That's true. And we have a small service fee because we do have operating costs. A lot of people think we don't have operating costs, but we do because we're an employer. We still have to pay taxes, and we have to keep our sterilizing machine operable, and it's old, it's been refurbished, and it requires chemicals and things, so there are costs that involved to operate a nonprofit. So,
well, we only got a couple of minutes left, and in that time, I would like for you to give verbally your address, phone numbers. He's going to put them up on a card, but I'd like for you to verbally give them contact information. And by the way, one thing that we have not talked about is you actually serve as a peer counselor, peer group also, right? You have people come in and talk to you.
yes, they can come in and talk to me, and I do all of this at our office at Project CARAT Paducah, and Project CARAT Paducah Incorporated is located at 911 Joe Clifton Drive. We're inside the Lourdes Home Care offices, and that's Paducah, Kentucky 42001. You can reach us Monday through Thursday. I'm always there on Mondays and Tuesdays. It was always be good to call ahead. A lot of times we're very busy, but I always try to make time for somebody. It's 270-538-6844. It's our phone number.
Well, I have certainly enjoyed this show, this conversation. I always try to learn something out of all of them myself. You know, I don't think we ever have enough. And I really appreciate you being here and sharing with us your knowledge and things that you know and what goes on and at Project CARE. It's a real good program, and I'm excited about it. And I want to encourage people out there. And like I said, I was blessed. I needed a chair, a lift chair. My daughter mentioned it to a friend of hers. She said, got one on the front porch we were fixing to throw away. You know, and I asked my next door neighbor when I was coming out of the hospital after losing my leg, I said, if you know anybody that's got a scooter for sale that's cheap, he said, I got one right here. It's not hardly 2 years old. You can have it and use it all you want to. So I've been blessed to get those things. And I want you to, out there in the audience, to realize that you can help somebody too. Well, it's been great having you here, and it's been great on our show today. And remember our closing, use it or lose it.
Can't see as well as I used to. Can't run as far or as fast. Sometimes I think that the old me is becoming exactly that.